Hello YouTube, it's little Derek.comics back with another video, and today we're going to be going over season 3.5 for Marvel Rivals. This is going to be a full-on in-depth review of the second half of season 3. And we will also be going over some general aspects of season 3 because you kind of can't talk about the end of the season without the season as a whole. So if you like Marvel Rivals and you want to see more content like this, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. But we're going to go ahead and get right into it and talk about some general new stuff that we got. So this half of the season introduced Blade, and Blade was an interesting duelist because he kind of switched between melee and shooting, kind of similar to Scarlet Witch, but he had his own kind of play style to it. So he was a cool addition. And we also got some new team ups. We got the duality edge between Luna Snow and Adam Warlock. And we also got the vibrant vitality between Mantis, Loki, and Groot. Now, with those being added, we did lose the Guardian revival, the kind of res comp that we got between Star Lord, Mantis, and Adam. We also lost Atlas Bond between Luna Snow and Iron Fist. However, Iron Fist is a part of Duality Edge. So, and I think that's a really good one because it allows Iron Fist to basically act as a healer. So before, Luna Snow just had a new ability, and that was really good for Luna and made her a lot better of a healer, keep herself alive. But now Iron Fist can act as a healer independent from the other healers. So you basically have 2.5 healers at any given time. And if you have 3 healers and an Iron Fist, and now you have 3.5. But yeah, I'll probably talk a little bit more about the team ups at the end of the video. But those are the team ups that we got, and I think they are really good additions to the game. And also, let's talk about some free stuff that we got this season. So, I don't want to go over all the skins from this season just because, we get skins every season and they're kind of cosmetics. But I do like to talk about the free stuff. So, what free skins did we get in this second half of the season? So, we have the Thing with his symbiote skin, and we got that in the Queen's Codex event. We also have the Ancient Powers event where we got Old Man Strange, and technically we got a free Thor skin. It was a part of season 3.0, but they extended it into season 3.5 if I'm not mistaken. So, there's that. And then lastly, with the Twitch drops, we got a Star-Lord Ignite skin if you watch the Ignite tournament. And we got a Mantis Will of Galactus skin. So, if you're not counting the battle pass and things like that, we pretty much got 4 free skins in this half of the season. So those are pretty nice. And I did mention some of the events, but we did have the Queen's Codex, and that came with a few new costumes and things. We got a nice Hela skin. And then I also mentioned the Ancient Powers Awaken event. And lastly, we did get the extended summer event bled into this season, or this half of the season, if I'm not mistaken. The thing I don't really particularly care about with those type of events, you know what? I'll talk more about those events towards the end of the video. But 2 other events that I think are worth noting. One was the Chrono Storm. That was kind of a pop-up event. They didn't really mention much about it going into this half of the season. They just kind of did it. I think there was probably just not a lot going on within the season, so they just kind of threw us a little bonus. And what it basically was that you got pretty much a bonus 2,000 chrono tokens. So they doubled the chrono tokens that you got by completing the missions, but it was maxed out at like 2,000. So there was a 2,000 chrono token limit. So it was fair. Everybody got to pretty much participate. Nobody really got more than anyone else. And they did it to a point to where you still had new events coming in. So it's not like you did all your events, your missions and stuff like that, and you couldn't get any more units. everybody pretty much had a chance to do this. And it was also a limited time event. So I think that was cool how they handled that. And we also had Resource Rumble. We had the casual version of that mode, and that was technically a completely new mode. I think that was one of the highlights, kind of the hallmarks of this season, was the Resource Rumble. That was a big event that they were kind of hyping up. And we'll also talk about that towards the end of the video. Now, before I get to the overall like review of everything, there are two things that were worth mentioning, and those are pretty much the two dev talks that we had from Guang Guang and Xiong. So usually they both do one together, but this time they were separate. And in Guang Guang's portion, he talked about the community management upgrade. And what that basically is them kind of cracking down on the toxic behavior that's been running rampant in the game. So we have humans reviewing reports and things now, which we should have had that a long time ago, if we're being honest. We have harsher penalties for people that throw and quit and things like that. We have custom filters to where you can filter out certain words and phrases. That's a really good one. I think that's really nice. Point compensation. So anytime you have somebody throw the match or, leave the match or anything like that, whenever you decide to complete the match, you will be rewarded some bonus points so you don't lose as many if you are to lose. And if you do decide to surrender, you only need, if there's only one person that doesn't want to surrender, no matter how many people you have left on the team, then you're still able to surrender. You don't need the full team. You don't need 4 out of 6, or not 4 out of 6. Yeah, you don't need four. You, as long as it's just one person remaining, you can still quit. So that's pretty nice. And then if you are to disconnect accidentally, things happen, I think you can review it and plead your case, talk to customer support or something like that. I think all of that is good. But the last thing I wanted to talk about before I get into the overall review is Xiong's portion, the huge matchmaking breakdown where he kind of spilled all the ins and outs of how the matchmaking works. Not everything, but it was pretty in depth. And I made a video on it if you guys want to check it out. If nothing else, I'd say that was good for morale. How they showed you how everything works and functions. It kind of made me a little bit more, I don't know, there was some level of transparency there that you just wouldn't really expect to see from a developer. So I gotta give them some praise for doing that. They didn't have to do that at all, and it did help me get back into some ranked matches to see, like, just because they kind of let me know how it actually works under the hood. So I think that was great. Let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room while we're on the topic. The matchmaking still sucks, okay? Let me just go into some general things that I didn't quite like about this season. So, when I was mentioning the events and things like that, with the Queen's Codex and all that, these events are nice. They give us some nice new costumes, and some of them are free, yes, but they aren't as impactful as, say, the Season 0 events, the Season 1 events, because they would give you, say, the Chinese New Year event. They gave you a new Star-Lord skin. It was free. And then you had a new mode on top of it. It was a really fun mode. It was limited time, yes, but you got the new mode, and then you had gallery card that they gave you from it, which you still get in some of these now, but you don't get things like units or anything like that. Y'all remember the kind of board game they had from like I think it was like season 2 or like the end of season 1? Where you had like the Galactus gift event and the April Fool's thing, and you got the Venom twerking emote, and you got, say, I want to say they gave you a good bit of units from that. So they gave you, yes, the Chrono Storm thing, but if you don't have the battle pass, what is that going to do for you? It's going to make you finish the battle pass quicker. At that point, I pretty much had all you can get from the normal battle pass. I had to upgrade. Now, fortunately for me, I did get the battle pass this season, but you know, not everybody can afford to get the battle pass every season. Like, you know, like throw a brother 100 units, man. Like, come on, don't be stingy. Especially since you have it to where, you know, the achievements and stuff, you don't really get units from the achievements anymore. You might get 1 or 200, you know, once they roll around the new season. But, you know, if you've completed all of them, you aren't getting any more units for the most part. I think they're being a little stingy with the units, which it's a free to play game. They could be as stingy as they want to. If you want to be honest with it, they are known to be a little bit generous with the free stuff, so I can't hark on them too much, but it would be nice to just have like 1 or 200, you know, extra units. I don't think it would be that game changing. But yeah, that's one thing I didn't like about the events per se. And speaking of which, the Resource Rumble. Resource Rumble was mid. It's basically just comp with another name because you have Convoy, you have Convergence, and you have Domination. And now you have Resource Rumble in the mix. It's basically the same thing as the other three with a different flavor. You know what I mean? They're all comp, but with a different flavor to it. So, and then on top of that, we didn't even get a comp version of it. We got the beta test for Resource Rumble, and still to this day, I don't think it's in comp yet. So, yeah, we technically got a new event, but it was just casual match with an extra little mode on it. It's not the same as some of the modes we've been getting in some of the earlier seasons. So I think that part was lacking. We didn't get any big new modes this season, like Ultron's Battle Matrix, Clone Rumble, which we do have that in the current season going on, season 4, but that we'll talk about that when we get to that video. And also, let's talk about the new characters from this season, Blade and Phoenix. Phoenix was definitely the most underrated drop we have gotten thus far. All of Fantastic Four were pretty dope. Emma was probably the most game changing. Ultron was a really game changing healer. But these two, first off, it was a bold move, which they would have to do it at some point. There's always going to be more DPS than healers and tanks. That's just kind of how the game goes. That's kind of how Marvel works in general. And if I'm not mistaken, that's also kind of how hero shooters work. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but it's kind of hard to make healers and tanks when everybody in Marvel is pretty much a fighter for the most part. You kind of have to be a little bit creative on that. But for them to finally hit 2 DPS in a season and for both of them to be kind of mid in terms of what they bring to the table. Now, I will say we needed more hit scan characters, so Phoenix was really good for that. And she's good with like wiping stuff off the map. But you could just really pick Hela or Scarlet Witch, which I know Scarlet Witch isn't the best character, but if you just wanted to snipe somebody and get headshots, she's a lot better for that than Jean Grey. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then Blade is a good one if you know what you're doing, but he's not really shaking up the meta too much as it stands. You know, I know he pretty much just came out, but he wasn't particularly good or particularly bad. He was a nice addition, yes, but the two added characters didn't change much about the game. So that's another thing. But, you know, let's go ahead and get into the real meat and potatoes because everything else was just kind of like lackluster. The elephant in the room that has been plaguing this game since pretty much day one has been the matchmaking. And even though Zeong, you know, brought out how the matchmaking actually works and said that it's not EOMM, even if it's not, who cares? I would argue that this is worse. This is arguably worse because at least with EOMM, if it was a 50-50 situation where I'm half prone to win and it's not based on my skill at all, at least I would still win. Like, I'm not like, bro, it's not skill based. So even, how do I put this? It's inconsistent. You might win 75% of the time, you might win 25% of the time. And as you get higher, your skill points for like performance that you get from ranking up are weighted less. So it doesn't matter how good you do. You're as you get higher, you're constantly rewarded less for winning. I'm going to repeat that. As you get higher, you're rewarded less for winning. And the points you lose for losing are always consistent. So you're constantly just slowly losing points that you get from ranking up. So it makes it that much harder to rank up. Because say like you're constantly losing on average, say 20 to say 22 points. And then you're winning maybe 25 to 31 points. That's being kind of generous. In that sense, you'd really only be winning anywhere from like 3 to like 8 points from winning versus losing. There are certain matches where I done pretty much lost just as much as I won. I have to sit there and use my main character to try to carry a match, and if I lose, then hopefully I can get SVP so I don't lose as many points. And don't even get me started about freaking DPS and how many points they don't have to worry about losing as much for doing stupid stuff. That's just, oh my gosh, the matchmaking sucks, dude, and they still have yet to fix it. And it doesn't matter how much they dance around it and try to fix it up. They're constantly putting band-aids on a gash. It's like, dude, I can't take it. I can't freaking take it anymore. Like, dude. And I don't know if or when they'll ever fix it, because it's been this way for what, 3.5 seasons, if you count, season 0, which you should count season 0. It sucks, man. It sucks. Like, this is a rant that doesn't even have to happen. The video could have been over with, but every time I have to come on here and rant about the matchmaking, and it's almost therapeutic in a sense now. I don't even want to play ranked right now. This half of season 4, I'm genuinely finna not play ranked. Like, I'm finna just sit on casual or just not play at all, bro. Do you know the amount of throwers, bots, smurfs, toxic players, all of the above that I've had to deal with this season? It's like, bro, why do I gotta be matched with people that just don't know how to play the game? You know what I mean? That just don't have any business being in the rank. How can you throw and still be in freaking diamond? Let me throw a match. I ain't gonna be nowhere near that. It's like, dude, I had to do so much to get to my rank. And it's like, maybe I don't deserve to be in the rank I am. I feel like I should be in a higher rank, but maybe I'm a gold player. All right? If that's the case, though, why are you putting me with diamond players? Why am I ever touching that rank? You're making it harder for me. And if I am a good player, right, and I make it diamond, GM, even plat on a bad day, right? Why are you putting people that play like they're in silver in a diamond lobby? Like, what's going on, dude? This has been genuinely the worst season in terms of players that I've been matched with. So, compounded with the fact that there was nothing too groundbreaking in terms of the characters, new modes, anything like that of the season. The season was pretty boring. The season was boring. At least season 2, the matchmaking was god awful as well. But it wasn't boring. There was something to do across the season. The Hellfire Gala event, Ultron's Battle Matrix, all that. And Emma and Ultron were just really good additions in terms of shaking up the meta. This, we ain't have none of that. We had absolutely none of that. We had 2 mid DPS, and we had the same matchmaking, if not worse, with a few extra smacks on the wrist, harder smacks on the wrist. It's not good, dude. It's so not good. And I'm so tired of talking about it, but I know I'm probably going to end up talking about it every dang season. But yeah, so with that being said, I think that in terms of the costumes, the cosmetics, all that we got this season, because if I'm not mistaken, I want to say we did get the accessories this season too. Uh, in terms of all that and consistency between like the battle pass and all the skins that we got, phenomenal, phenomenal. I would argue that that's the best they've had so far. But in terms of fun, having fun, playing the game for fun, being excited to hop on the game and have fun, it wasn't. It wasn't there. This is probably going to be the most boring, forgetful season that we've had. So, those are my thoughts on season 3. But let me know what you thought. Was I ragging on season 3 a little bit too hard? Would you have went harder? Did you love season 3? Are you excited for, season 4? Are you playing it right now? Let me know all of that in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. And I'm out. Peace.